CLO3.1. Compute single trade discount, list price, and net price. Okay, in this lesson we will have a lot of new vocab words, and they are all from the perspective that you are a shop owner and you're buying things from a factory in order to sell at your shop to customers. So when we use the word list price, sometimes they also say catalog price. You can think that's the expensive price that the customers will pay for the item you are selling. The problem is you have to get it cheaper at your shop. Here's your shop. You have to get it cheaper from the factory, or sometimes we call the factory the wholesaler, the company that originally provides the items. You have to get it cheaper in order that when you sell it to the customer, you make more money. So the price you will pay is called the net price. It's a cheaper price. So this one is more expensive. The list price is more expensive, and the net price is the cheaper price that you pay as the shop owner. Okay, then we have two other sets of vocab words we'll discuss. One is the trade discount amount. So that's the dollar amount or the dirham amount, the money amount that is taken off the price. Okay, so that's always going to have some sort of money amount, dollars or euros or dirhams. Okay, the discount rate is always the percentage that is taken off. So let's look at this advertisement, and it has all kinds of numbers on it, and we will figure out which one is the list price, net price, discount rate, and discount amount. So first we'll look at list price. Remember, list price is the expensive price. So the one that's crossed out, that's the expensive price, the catalog price it's also called. Okay, the net price is the cheaper price that someone may pay. So that would be $8.24. The discount rate is always a percentage. So we'll look and see if we find a rate. There it is. The rate is 25% off. And I will say for calculations, it's always better to switch that to be a decimal, 0.25. The discount amount is the actual amount of money taken off the price, and that is, in this case, 275 dirhams. Okay, now this is a math class, so we will be often given different problems where we are given some of the information and we have to calculate the missing information. So in this example, they're saying we don't know what the net price is, we're not sure, but based on the information that's given, can you calculate, can you figure out the net price? So the first equation that is given, and it will be provided in the formula sheet, is that the net price, the cheaper price you pay, is found just by doing the list price minus the discount amount. So let's plug in what we know. We know that the list price, the expensive price, is $10.99. We know that the discount amount, the amount taken off the price, is $275. So now it's just a matter of plugging those numbers in and chugging out the answer. $10.99 minus $275 gives us the cheaper net price that we have to pay, which is 824 dirhams. So here's another example. We've got a company and they're buying a motor. They say the list price of the motor is $499, but obviously they can't pay that expensive price because they will have to go ahead and resell it to the customer. So they get a discount amount of $99 off. What is the net price? So we can remember that the formula for net price is just the list price minus the discount amount. So we plug and chug those numbers into this basic formula, and we get that the home decor company will get the motor for a cheaper price of $400. Okay, here's another example where we are given the net price, which is the cheaper price that the customer or that the shop pays. Sometimes the customer might also pay a net price, a cheaper price. And this is the discount amount, and we're wondering, well, what was the original list price? And it turns out that the list price, and this makes sense logically, is just the cheaper price. Plus, if you add back the discount amount, that will give you the expensive price. So we can go ahead and plug into that formula. The net price was $824. The discount amount was $275. And that would tell us what the original list price was, which was 1099 dirhams. So here's another example like that. It tells us the net price of a stove is $1,100. That's the cheaper price. And, whoops, 1,100. And it says he received a trade discount. So that's discount amount of $170. And we want to know, well, what was the expensive list price? So we have that formula that the list price is the cheaper price, plus you can add back that discount amount and see what the original expensive price would have been, and it would have been $1,270 if we had to pay that expensive list price. Okay, here's another scenario where they tell you the cheaper price, which is called the net price. They tell you the original expensive price, which is called the list price or catalog price, and they want you to, they're asking, well, how much did you save? So they're asking for the discount amount. And of course, it's quite logical. The discount amount is just the expensive amount minus the cheaper price that you get to pay. So if we plug and chug those numbers, you get $10.99 minus $824, which gives us a discount amount of $275 dirhams. So here's another example like that. They tell us the expensive price of a washing machine is $1,000, and the net price, which is the cheaper price, is $850. So what was the discount amount? And it's this formula, discount amount is the expensive price minus the cheaper price, list price minus net price. So $1,000 minus $850. In this case, the discount amount was $150. Okay, the next type of question, you are going to have two different choices in how you want to do it. So I'll give you both options and you can choose. So when you want to find the net price and you're given the list price and the discount rate, we'll just call that R in this case. The first option is that you will first find the discount amount by doing the list price times the discount rate, and then you'll use that information to find the net price by plugging in the list price minus the discount amount. The second option, which is the one I prefer, is there is a formula where in one step you can just plug in that the net price, the cheaper price, can be calculated by doing the list price times, they call this the complement of the discount rate, which really just means 1 minus the discount rate. So we'll do both in the next slide and you can see which method you prefer. Okay, in this example, we have the original expensive list price and we know that we're taking 25% off. So the list price is $10.99, the discount rate is 0.25. So if we use option 1, then what we will do is first we'll say, okay, the discount amount is the list price times the discount rate. So we will plug in $10.99 times 0.25, and we'll get the discount amount of $274.75 dirhams, but we're not done yet because they asked for the net price, so I won't circle that. But the net price, you just do the list price minus the discount amount we just found. So in this case, it will be $10.99 minus $274.75, and we will get a final net price of $824.25 dirhams. Now, I prefer the other method where we can just combine basically these two formulas into one formula where we know the net price is just the list price times the complement of the discount rate. And in one step, I can type in my calculator 1099 times 1 minus 0.25, and we will get a final answer, net price, of exactly the same answer that we got on the first method, the first option. We get 824.25 dirhams. So you'll notice either option gives you the same answer. Okay, we'll do one more example like this. The catalog price. Catalog price is the same as list price. It means the expensive price is $1,300, and they're telling us there is a discount of 20% off. That's 0.20. For me, if they're asking for the net price, I will directly go to this formula where I can solve everything in one step. And this formula is on the formula sheet. The only difference between the way I'm writing it and the formula sheet is they call this the complement of the discount rate. So if we plug and chug the numbers, 1,300 times 1 minus 0.20 would give us a net price of $1,040. Okay, this is an example where if you are given the net price, the cheaper price, and the discount rate, and they want us to go back and find what was the list price. So here's the example. Here is the net price, the cheaper amount. Here is the discount rate, and we want to figure out what was the expensive price. So the formula, and basically it's not actually given in the formula sheet, but I'll show you where it comes from. The formula we were just using, which is on the formula sheet, net price equals list price times 1 minus the discount rate. If we want to rearrange this formula to solve for list price, we're basically going to take this expression and divide it onto the other side of the formula. So we get a new formula. List price is net price divided by 1 minus the discount rate, or as they say in the formula sheet, the complement of the discount rate. So in this case, we would plug in the cheaper net price is $824. The discount rate was 25% off. So if you plug and chug these numbers into the formula, you will get the more expensive list price of $1098.67 dirhams. And just a reminder, there's a lot of number answers, money answers in this unit. We always round to 2 decimal places for money. Okay, let's look at this example. They tell us this clock motor is being sold at a cheaper price of $350, and the discount rate was 5% off. We need to calculate the list price. Just remember, the list price should always be more than the net price. So that will help you make sure you use the correct formula. So we will use this formula. List price is net price divided by 1 minus the discount rate. Now remember, that's not explicitly in the formula sheet, but you can get it by rearranging this formula that is in the formula sheet. If you just divide this expression onto the other side, you get this formula. Or you can just choose to memorize the formula if you like. So now we will plug and chug these numbers. We will say 350 divided by 1 minus 0.05, so 5% off. And we will get that the expensive list price was $368.42. And remember, for money, you always round to 2 decimal places. Okay, the last kind of example is when you are given both the expensive price and the cheaper discounted price, and you want to calculate, well, what was the discount rate? So let me bring up the formulas we've already talked about. There's one where the discount amount is the list price times the discount rate. And then there's another formula where the discount amount is the list price minus the net price. And what we're going to do is take both of these equations to find an equation for R, the discount rate. First of all, if I use that first equation and wanted to just get R equals, I would divide the list price onto the other side. So I get the discount amount over the list price. That's one way to solve it. But then I will take this equation and replace it in the top. Instead of writing discount amount, I will write list price minus net price, and we still have this divided by list price. So this is the formula I will use to find the discount rate if given the list price and the net price. And again, this particular one is not in the formula sheet, but you can get it because these two are in the formula sheet. But most of my students prefer just to memorize this formula so that when asked, they can calculate it very quickly. Okay, so we will use this formula. Now that we know, for example, in this particular example, here is the cheaper net price, here is the more expensive list price. So to find the discount rate, we will do list price minus net price divided by list price. We will plug in those numbers. $10.99 minus $8.24 divided by $10.99, and we will get a discount rate of 0.25. And as you remember, to turn a decimal into a percentage, you just multiply by 100, so that means 25% off. All right, let's look at this example. It says the list price for a computer. So the expensive price was $550, the cheaper price was $400. And now, if you have memorized this very nice formula, the discount rate is just the discount amount divided by the list price. But as we recall, the discount amount, so I'm going to say the discount amount is just list price minus net price, now divided by list price. So we can plug and chug. R equals 550 minus 400, all divided by the more expensive list price, and we will get a discount rate of, my calculator says 0.272727, so I'll just round it to 3 decimal places, 0.273, which if we're changing that to a percentage, we multiply by 100 and get 27.3% off. Okay, one more thing to mention, which is actually very common, is if you are a shop, so remember, often you have the wholesaler or the factory, and the factory sells to the shop, and the shop then sells to the customers. This is what we talked about from the very beginning. Often, if you are the shop, you're not just ordering one item at a time. You order a large quantity of items from the factory. So one thing to remember is that if you are a shop ordering many items, the list price for the entire order is just, and this is logical, it's not in the formula sheet, you must just know this by your logic, it's going to be the list price for one item times the quantity of items that you order. So I will do some review questions where we're not just talking about buying one item at a time, we're talking about having an order of many items. Okay, so let's review all the ideas that we've talked about so far from CLO3.1. And before we do a few more examples, I have 3 more examples, I wanted to pull up the actual formula sheet. It's very wordy, so I will kind of summarize it the way I've been using it. The first formula that is given to you is that the discount amount is the list price times the discount rate. The second formula that is given to you is that the discount amount is the list price minus the net price. Also, you could rearrange that to say the net price is the list price minus the discount amount. And the last formula, which we have used a lot, is that the net price is the list price times the complement of the discount rate, which is 1 minus the discount rate. Now, there were 2 more formulas that are not on the formula sheet that you could either memorize or you can get by rearranging those formulas. And the first one is that if you want to find the list price, you can rearrange that formula number 4 and just say it's the net price divided by 1 minus the discount rate. And then the other formula that's not explicitly on the formula sheet, but that you can get by rearranging things, is to say, okay, the discount rate is the list price minus the net price divided by the list price. So you can either memorize these, which is probably the easiest thing, or get good at rearranging those first 4 formulas to use those. And then the very last thing that I just mentioned is that the list price of a whole order is going to be the list price of just one item times, one item times the quantity in your order. Okay, let's do 3 more review examples. Okay, in this example, it says Emacs orders 15 televisions. Well, the quantity in my order is 15. The catalog price, which is the same as list price, the expensive price is $12.50 each. So this is the list price for one item. So before we move forward, we can say the list price for the whole order is going to be $12.50, the list price for one, times the quantity. So the list price for the whole order in this case will be $18,750, and it says there is a discount rate of 35% off. So it's always better to put it as a decimal, 0.35, and we want to know the net price of the order. So I will use this formula that the net price is the list price times 1 minus the discount rate. And we will plug and chug and do the discount of the whole order, 18,750 times 1 minus 0.35, and we will get a net price of 12,187. My calculator says 0.5, but I'm going to write 0.50 because for money, it's always better to write 2 decimal places. So that will be the net price of the whole order. Okay, example 2 says a supplier sells calculators at a list price of 99 dirhams. That sounds like it's the list price for just one calculator is 99 dirhams. That's the expensive price. It says they order 100 calculators, so the quantity is 100. Before we move forward, let's calculate the list price of the whole order. So it's the list price for one times the quantity that was ordered. The list price for the whole order is, in this case, is 9,900 dirhams. And it said they paid 91.08. That means that's the cheaper price. So we'll call that the net price. The cheaper price is the price they paid, 91.08. What was the discount rate? So this is one of those formulas I should have memorized. The discount rate in terms of the list price and the net price. It's the list price minus the net price, which by the way is the discount amount, divided by the original list price. So that's the formula. Hopefully you have it memorized. And we will plug in these numbers. So we will say 9,900 minus 91.08, all divided by 9,900, and we will get a discount rate of 0.08, which if you want to change that to a percentage, you multiply by 100, which is a discount of 8% off. Okay, last example to review. We've got notebooks being sold at a 22% discount. So R equals 0.22, and they buy 150 notebooks. That's the quantity. Quantity is 150. The total is 23.40. So the price that the store is paying is going to be the net price, right? The store always has to pay a cheaper price so that when they resell it to the customers, they can sell it for more. So what the store pays to the supplier is the net price. So, and that must be the net price of the whole order. So let's just keep that in mind. And we want to find the list price for one item. So this is a little bit confusing because we've got the net price for the whole order, but we want to find the list price for one item. So why don't we first find the list price of the whole order, and then we can use that to find the list price for one item. So we've got the useful things here are the discount rate and the net price of the order, and we want to find the list price of the order. So this formula will be that the list price is the net price divided by 1 minus the discount rate. So the list price of the whole order in this case is the net price of the order, $23.40, divided by 1 minus the discount rate. Okay, so we get that the list price of the whole order was 3,000 dirhams. But remember, the list price for the whole order is just the list price for one item times the quantity. So let's plug in everything we have now. 3,000 equals the list price for one item times the fact that we ordered 150 items. So we can rearrange all of this and divide both sides by 150, and that will give us the list price for one item being 20 dirhams. Okay, that was lesson 3.1.